All right. So, in light of, I was like, well, I guess it depends on whenever you've seen this. Logan Paul faces Jay Uso. But to be honest, I really wanted to talk about Logan Paul. I know, weird, shocker. Because I was like, I've seen that he said that his hate is like not authentic. It's being overhyped basically. And then I've seen some people who was like get him off my TV, the worst thing. I don't really like him. He's a scumbag. To people like I'm not really bothered by him. I think he really is a good worker in the ring. I was like promo celebrity. I think that the thing is with his heat is a lot of things. I don't think it is just one thing. I was like, if we want to talk about is he an asshole, I want to say yeah. I was like, I think that yeah, because I was like, without that, I don't think that he would be here at all, or whatever. Don't get me wrong. There's a bunch of other stuff, and I was like, I'll address that in a minute. But let's go with the biggest thing in the room that everybody seems to basically go is that I was like that he's an asshole. Now that had to stop anybody, and I was like, pretty much, I think that everybody is probably an asshole to somebody, no matter how good of a person you probably are. Because I was like, that could just be rubbing people like the wrong way. But I was like, that doesn't mean that you're rubbing someone the wrong way. I don't even know what that sentence is supposed to mean, but you insert what you want to there. Um, but I was like, I guess I'm saying that I'm like, he's a jerk, scumbag. He had the whole thing with the scamming and stuff like that. And I was like, to where, to me, I'm like, I do feel like it's a little bit overblown of what it is. Because I was like, to be honest, you can't tell me that everybody necessarily knows everything about Logan Paul to where he gets the he does at all these stadiums. Just because I'm like, all the people there are all sort of like main fans to casual fans. And in this day and age, we've also learned that just because you have, let's say, like a million or so people following you or watching you or whatever the case, that doesn't mean everybody knows you. Like, this is a different time period that where it's like the zeitgeist doesn't, like, what does that mean now, especially? Like, yeah, if this was like early 2000s, which I mean, that's sort of like when he was like starting off. But I was like, if it was like early 2090, something like that, then that'd be a different situation. But I was like, but it's the same people that's kind of like, I'm like, they're booing Logan Paul, but also don't know that like it's like, who's that guy that got speared by Braun Breaker? Oh, that was I Show Speed. Most people didn't know that, but think about how many followers he has. I was like, KSI. To be honest, I didn't even really know who KSI is, and I was like, only reason I sort of kind of know who he is, and I was like, oh, cause he does Prime with Logan Paul. And I was like, I vaguely seen like other people talking about, but I don't actually know who he is. I was like, only reason I know who Logan Paul is because I was like, I remember him from Vine, and I remember from things like that. Then I remember the stuff that I was like, then I remember I was like, what on the internet? But I know that someone like him at the forest in Japan, and I was like, that was a whole thing. And then really nothing for a good while, and then like he's starting up and basically figured out how to do this viral thing, how to do this YouTube thing, and basically making a big name of himself. But I was like, is he an asshole? Yeah, because I was like, guess what? That's what his that show he about to come out with is about. Is why people want to see him when he is in fights, whether it's in the wrestling ring or in the boxing ring or whatever. Because everybody's like, I can't, just like his brother, I can't wait to see somebody beat him up. Why? We only do that if you're sort of an asshole and we don't like you. But I'm like, he's a jerk about it. That's the thing. I was like, and guess what? It's not that. I was like, it's the way he sort of does it. I was like, we've been around. I was like, he flashes the stuff he got and all this other stuff, and he puts it in your face, and he really brash about it. And I was like, most people don't really sort of tend to like that. Like, it's one thing you read, but I was like, when you over here pushing it in my face, we got a problem. That's sort of how it is with people. I was like, I do, but I was like, the thing is that people all have different reasons. There's some people who that not liked him since he did the thing in Japan, and I was like, which is I was like, which I'm not saying that was right or anything like that, but that I was like that back then got some backlash, but not really enough to like really hinder him or nothing like that. Like, yeah, you have a hiatus, but you don't really get hindered. But now when we got this whole mental health awareness thing going on, that is now it's more heightened, even though that was like so far back. And I was like, he doesn't get the grace of being a young dumb kid or whatever, which is kind of shocking in one way. But also I was like in most cases most people would be like hey, he did something stupid and dumb when he was young or whatever like that. Most people don't give it to him. Now I was like, I haven't seen him really fully apologize on it. I know that's a big thing that people got. I was like, another thing, cause I was like, yo, you can't own it, and hey, people are gonna have problems with it. Same reason that people will boo Hulk Hogan. But also with that is the fact that I was like, some of the hate that I do see for Logan Paul, that I'm just like, okay, so y'all putting him in. It seemed like I'm like, then some people talk about it in a way that I'm like, okay, you're talking about like he's Hulk Hogan. I was like, he's not that. But also, I was like, we pick and choose who we have like vitriol for. Like, we really do. And I was like, cause I'm like, Logan Paul, what he did is like, oh, yeah, I can see you got scumbag behavior. I was like, oh, that's not right, especially because everybody wants to have to me, I was like, sometimes I feel like, I was like, people do have like, it's like, we are a lot more better people now or whatever, because we all having this reflection upon ourselves, and what he's doing isn't right to people. And it's like, yeah, you shouldn't be scamming people out of money, I was like trying to hit a lick for something all the time or whatever what you did. But I was like, Logan Paul is just about money. And I was like, to be honest, that's what this whole country is about. I was like, that's what this whole thing is about. And I was like, you're gonna be mad at him. There's a lot of people you should be mad at. And I'm not saying that you're not mad at him. And I was like, Logan Paul is just the easiest way you can actually get booze to. But I'm like, Logan Paul on the totem pole doesn't even register. Doesn't even register at all of what he does. I was like, because I'm like, most people can really only name the scamming thing and the thing in Japan. And other than that, you really just kind of like, out, like, there's really nothing else really too much there. I was like, there's stuff about the Prime, and I was like, well, they got forever chemicals and all this other stuff, and he's saying that it's like good for electrolyte, but it's not, or whatever like that, and he just lying to the people and all the other stuff. And I was like, I do think some of it is the fact that he's also coming off as, why do all these people hate me? I was like, I was like, where it's just like, I'm trying to be a genuine guy, but y'all don't see that I'm a genuine guy. And it's like, yeah, you a little bit phony with it. So I was like, I will give people that. But that's not even, but I don't see people say that about him, that he's being phony. I get that, because I was like, I think he is phony. I was like, I do think that he's being phony and not up front when he's doing stuff like that. But I don't also think that when he's behind the scenes, that he's also always a jerk. Entitled, yes. Got money, yes. And that comes with doing, I was like, where it's like, but I don't think he is just being rude to people. I don't think that's how he actually is, or whatever. You would think with Logan Paul, we will hear that he's like being hella rude with people in a way, or being like, or like coming at people or whatever like that. And I was like, I haven't heard anything like that. I mean, yes, you're gonna probably bring out a couple articles here and there and stuff like that, but I'm like, but by now you would have think we'd have had some Ellen DeGeneres type of thing with him, because of how many people don't like him off the bat or whatever like that. Like, he never had an appearance of being like some wholesome family guy. He's never had that. So it's like, you would think all this stuff would just be coming to the forefront as well, and it doesn't. I was like, I really don't think it's go away heat. Now, you talk to the right wrestling people, I do think that, but I was like, a lot of them are fickle in the way that they sort of do this whole thing, not only with celebrities, but also where it's just kind of like, we don't want this guy on our product, so we're gonna boo, 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 boo. When it's like, yeah, but it takes more than just you to sell the product. That's why everything is. I was like, that's why we get some of these people involved. And let's be honest, I was like, I think not only did the scamming thing mess him up, but I really want to say his U.S. championship where he did nothing really also messed it up. Because I was like, before that, nobody said anything about Logan Paul. Nobody said anything really about Logan Paul. Not at all. It wasn't until like his U.S. championship that it was where it's like he's a part timer, he's barely here, and he's not put on any matches, and they're not really good matches either. That's what I think really what got the boos really started, because I was like, I think if he would have reversed his stuff, where it's like if he would have came in and he had those matches against Roman and stuff, and Seth Rollins, that if he would have been like, all right, hey, I'm gonna dig in and become a full-time wrestler at that point, I think people would have been like, okay, cool, bring it on. But since he went the part-time route, then he won a championship, and then he come over here with the full-time route, people are like, oh, I don't want to see you, boo. You're just here because to help sell your product or to be blah blah blah. I don't know why WWE keeps you around. When it's like, duh, you know why they keep him around? Because I was like, there's enough people that he has watching him, that means that likes him enough in order for him to be here as well. And I was like, I will say another thing is that the critiquing of Logan Paul is that his promos haven't gotten that, but they were good when he first got here, because he was something different. He was an outlier. Now that he's here full time, they're not really all that great anymore. Now he is being annoying, and I was like, if the heat was based off that as well, I will understand the heat, but that's not what I really see when I read people comments and stuff. I was like, his matches and stuff like that, I think it's funny that now that he became more of an actual wrestler, and instead of just being an athlete, I was like, and he's still, don't get me wrong, he still is more of an athlete. He's still, I was like, you can still see some things or whatever, but he's actually learned more of the wrestling part of it. I think a lot better than people really sort of give that part credit for, but because they don't like him. That he done a formulaic match, and now it's like, boo, show us that crazy stuff you do. And it's like, you wanted him to be like I feel like ingratiate himself to the game, and then not the game, not that guy, but you get what I'm saying. And now that he does, it's like, no, we want you to do the stuff that was freaky and out of here, that we was like, oh man, this guy is really crazy. And now he's not doing that, and now it's also a deterrent when it's like, if you would also did that, you'd be like, oh my god, this guy only knows how to do like spectacular things, or 5 things he can't do this or whatever. So you can't win with any of those with the internet fans or whatever like that, even though I know I'm probably part of it as well. I was like, I just think that I do think that it is overblown. I was like, I don't think it's the same heat as Dominic Mysterio. No, I don't think there's that. I don't think there's that, because I don't think Logan Paul can ever become a face at all. Like, I don't think it would be. It would have to be something like, it would have to be something in his real life to where he really turns over, like let's be honest, people really want him to be humble. That's really what that is. If it was something that really had to like hit at his ego, that people feel like I was like that he has, because he basically puts on this, I think, front of what he is, then I think that would be the only way that people would turn over on him. But I was like, I like Logan Paul. I don't enjoy him as much as I did, but I do like Logan Paul. I think he has a place in WWE. I think he does have a place in, or like, where I was like, will he win a World Heavyweight Championship in WWE? I think that really depends on, like, I was like, to me, like, he's facing Jey Uso too early for me to be like, that would have been the case. But Jey Uso would have been an opponent. I would have been like, yeah, I see it. If they're the Money in the Bank situation, yes, he's winning. He will win the World Heavyweight. That's really the only way I see it. Because I don't think they will pull the Rumble on him or anything at this moment. I could see the Elimination Chamber, yes, but I was like that's WrestleMania main event type of stuff. So that's why I said the briefcase. Yeah, I believe so. A number one contender match, yeah, I could see that as well. But it gotta take the right thing. But I do think he works, because I do think because he's not. I don't like he does. He's not getting heel stuff in a way that, to me, it hadn't gotten to go away heat. To me, I've heard that with Baron Corbin and when he was the constable. I heard it with Roman Reigns. I was like, when they didn't really like Seven, I was like, yes, I know some of this is because we didn't like Vince either, but those were go away heat. This is really just like the crowd have someone to actually boo, and also, he's really the only one that's a pure heel in WWE. There are people that we boo. There's heels, but there's not really heels. Everybody is sort of like, I get where they're coming from. They're just a person, and I was like, that's where they're coming from. He's the only one that's like, nah, you a bad guy. I'm booing the hell out you. That's what he is, and that has a role in WWE. I think there is a problem where there isn't actual heels sometimes, where just like everybody just like, you tell a good story, and I was like, you put them infused, and sometimes I just want the character to be developed, and I want them to actually put on a story and relate to me as a real person. And I was like, yeah, that's all cool until everybody's the same damn person. I need you need at some point to be like, that person's a bad person. I want to see them lose every time. And that's what Logan Paul's here for, to lose. Maybe not every time, but as a bad guy, a good amount of times. He's someone for your CM Punks. He's someone for your Jey Usos. He's someone for your Cody Rhodes, your John Cena's. That's what he's there for. You need somebody like that. You need a bad guy. And to be honest, the whole thing about Logan Paul is, it's funny because I was like, Logan Paul to me is really what the whole American dream is about. I was like, that dude went from nothing, where I was like, however you want to define nothing, but you get what I'm saying, to being at the top of just about everything. Got his hands in everything, got money and everything. I was like, on your shows, you can't get away from him. I was like, just a dude over here with a camera from a young age to the Vine, worked himself all the way up to where he can call the shots. If that's not the American dream, I don't know what that is. Anyway, that's just my bit on Logan Paul. I was like I said, I think it's overblown a lot of times. I think I think really people just, especially at these live shows, are just really to boo them. And you can not like them. That's of course up to you. But I was like, sometimes the amount of and disdain that people have, and I'm like, man, I was like, it's your. I was like, I can't tell you not to, but I can also say that I was like, man, I think you also tripping. It seemed like a lot. I was like, for someone that has no bearing on your life at all, to be honest. I was like, he's on your TV 5 to 10 minutes. Then that's it. It's not like they're playing his podcast during Raw, or he's doing none of that. So anyway, let me know what you think. Until then, I'm out.